This week, many people engaged in Mardi Gras-style gluttony and debauchery of all kinds. With Ash Wednesday on the horizon, this revelry was the last that many people would see until Good Friday. That's right, we've entered into the season of Lent, and basically the traditional purpose of Lent is the preparation of the believer through prayer, penance, repentance, almsgiving, and self-denial. Its institutional purpose is heightened in the annual commemoration of Holy Week, marking the death and resurrection of Jesus, which recalls the events of the Bible when Jesus is crucified on Good Friday, which then culminates in the celebration on Easter Sunday of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. A little history on the Catholic roots of Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras literally means Fat Tuesday. It has grown in popularity in recent years as a raucous, sometimes hedonistic event, but its roots lie in the Christian calendar as the last hurrah before Lent begins on Ash Wednesday. That's why the enormous party in New Orleans, for example, ends abruptly at midnight on Tuesday, with battalions of street sweepers pushing the crowds out of the French Quarter towards home. The name Fat Tuesday, and for the word Mardi Gras in French, comes from the tradition of slaughtering and feasting upon a fattened calf on the last day of Carnival. The day is also known as Shrove Tuesday, from the word to shrive or hear, confessions, Pancake Tuesday, and Feder Dienstag. The custom of making pancakes comes from the need to use up fat, eggs, and dairy before the fasting and abstinence of Lent begins. For many people, the time of Mardi Gras, at least in America, is just for a partying and a good time, and others it really is a time marking the beginning of a religious time. But some use it as an excuse to actually partake in the gluttony and debauchery of the events and really overdo themselves and overindulge in foods and drinks and things of that nature. But there are some associated customs concerning Lent, and there are traditionally 40 days in Lent, which are marked by fasting, both from foods and festivities, and by other acts of penance. The three traditional practices to be taken up with renewed vigor during Lent are prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Today, some people give up a vice of theirs, add something that will bring them closer to God, and often give the time or money spent doing that to charitable purposes or organizations. In America, many people do. They decide to give up different things, whether it be technology or doing certain other things, not partaking in drinking caffeine or drinking sodas or drinking something that would be bad for them. And the Catholic Church actually has put out different rules and regulations, both traditionally and in modern regulations. There's Lenten fasting regulations that the Catholic Church has put out, and abstaining from meat, so on and so forth. But it also should be noted that Fridays throughout the year are designated days of penance. The Code of Canon Law states that Friday is a day of abstinence from meat throughout the year. The American bishops have allowed us to choose a different form of penance rather than abstaining from meat, but there must be some form of penance. For this is the day we commemorate Christ's suffering and death. The bishops stress that among the works of voluntary self-denial and personal penance, we give first place to abstinence from flesh meat. So in traditional code, many people already know that meat, we abstain from meat on Fridays, but of course Catholics in particular have been given allowance to pick something else to abstain from. But this, I like what this points out, the fact that it is the Code of Canon Law states that Friday is a day of abstinence from meat throughout the whole year. So to me that means the whole year every Friday you would abstain from meat, and many have a hard time giving it up just during the Lent season, so I can see how that would be a problem for many throughout the year. But what I really wanted to point out in making this special report is the fact that I have some ideas of things that can be given up throughout the whole year. And whether this is done for religious belief or not, or health reasons or whatever, what I'm going to lay out here, I really believe that it can be, if you are a Christ follower, in a way allow you to worship God in a different way, when the foods and things that are in our water and our food supply really can make us unattentive and groggy and dumbed down. It really can get in the way of our worship to God and just our overall health and well-being. But I'm referring to my website here, foodoffensive.com. I have an avoid list that I made somewhere in the middle of last year, and this is not a complete list and nowhere near an exhaustive list of ingredients that we should be avoiding on a regular basis. I'm just looking at the list here, and I list things like monosodium glutamate, and I really give a link, and I give a quick brief information on what it is. Things like genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, high fructose corn syrup, TBHQ, sodium nitrite, PGPR, soy lecithin, bisphenol A or BPA, and this is, like I said, is nowhere near a complete list or an exhaustive list, but these are a few of the main culprits. And if you've seen some of my special reports that I've shot in the store looking at products, a lot of these ingredients show up over and over and over again in the products that we eat every single day, whether they're highly processed foods or not. It is sometimes hard to avoid these things by just not eating processed foods, but by certain foods in general. And so that is what I really want to press here, is during this Lent season, obviously that's a season that we've just started this last week, but going forward throughout the whole year, this is something that I encourage everyone listening to this, watching this, to take into consideration these products, these ingredients that go into our body on a daily basis, whether we know about them or not. We try to avoid them, and sometimes we eat them knowing that those products are in there, but yet we have no other choice at times, or so we think. And make it a point this year, starting in this Lent season, but carry it out through the whole year and hopefully through the rest of your life, to avoid ingredients such as this, and do our very best to change the way that our food comes to us and what is in our food that we eat. This has been a foodoffensive.com special report on the daily deadly ingredients that we consume and giving them up, starting at the Lent season and beyond.